I see we're all here obeying regulations, aren't we? I mean, this party is not going to be investigated by the police in a year's time. You are all very carefully socially distanced. We've moved, I'm pleased to tell you, from the metric back to the imperial system. I know you were at least 2 inches away, which is, as I understand it, what the regulations require during the social distancing period.
What I can tell you is that all the guidelines were observed, continue to be observed, and what I can also tell you is that we're getting on with the job, as we have been throughout, of dealing with the priorities of the people, particularly fighting crime.
So was it a party where the guidelines were followed, or was it not a party?
I can tell you that the guidelines were followed at all times.
Well, did you investigate that yourself? Have you satisfied yourself that that is the case?
I have satisfied myself that the guidelines were followed at all times. And what I can also tell you is that we're focusing on the issues that matter to me above all.
An awful lot of the media this morning, although interestingly, not a lot of the newspapers, for some interesting reason, we'll get into that, are actually talking about this Number 10 party that never happened, that was entirely within the rules, but was being talked about by Downing Street officials. If you've not somehow seen the video, you've been under a stone over the last 24 hours. Let's have a little look at a clip from Number 10 press briefing room. This is the one that was built at great expense. Your and my money, spent millions on this press briefing room. And this was a rehearsal for the daily press briefings that was supposed to be given by Allegra Stratton, who was hired to be the government's Prime Minister's spokeswoman, and questions from Ed Oldfield, one of the most senior advisors to the Prime Minister, talking about the party that never actually happened. Let's have a little watch and a little listen.
I've just seen reports on Twitter that there was a Downing Street Christmas party on Friday night. Do you recognise those reports?
I went home. Hold on.
Would the Prime Minister condone having a Christmas?
What's the answer?
I don't know. It
wasn't a party, it was cheese and wine.
Just be clear, it's not.
Is cheese and wine all right?
No.
It was a business meeting.
I'm joking.
This is recorded. This fictional party was a business meeting. And it was not socially distanced.
Well, if you're wondering who they're laughing at you. They're laughing at you, and they're laughing at me, and they're laughing at everyone else who did obey the rules and didn't attend fictional parties with cheese and wine. Let's just think back to when this happened. That press conference was just 4 days after, or the mock press conference was 4 days after the party that didn't happen actually happened. That was on December the 18th. That was just 2 days after the Prime Minister had put London and much of the South East into Tier 3, along with much of the rest of the country. And just 1 day before Christmas was cancelled for millions of people.
People died without that last touch from their daughters, their sons, their wives. Working in intensive care, I wept behind my mask as 3 children talking to their dying mother on an iPad begged her to wake up. Countless children now growing up without parents, while parties were held at Number 10. Mr. Speaker, this is disgraceful. This is an insult to everyone who followed the rules. It is an insult to everyone who wasn't allowed to say their final goodbye. This happened on the Prime Minister's watch. So my question is very simple. How does the Prime Minister sleep at night?
Prime Minister, you've only really agreed to an investigation into what happened on December the 18th last year because of the video that emerged from this room, and Allegra Stratton's resignation seems to further suggest that a party took place despite the denials. But we've also had serious allegations about parties on 3 other occasions. So I want to ask you why they aren't being investigated. Is it because you haven't been caught out in those cases?
Thanks very much, Anushka. Well, I repeat what I said in the House and earlier today. The Cabinet Secretary will conduct an inquiry into what took place on December the 18th. As for other events other dates that you mentioned, as far as I'm aware, to the best of my knowledge, we have followed the rules throughout, and that is what you would expect. Indeed, we followed the rules, as far as I'm aware, the rules were followed on December the 18th as well.
Load of bollocks.
I just repeat that point. But it's clearly important that the Cabinet Secretary is able to get to the bottom of it. But in the meantime, on your sort of your global, your big point again, Anushka, which is really the same as Laura's, I think that overwhelmingly the public see the importance of the messages that they are getting via this medium. It is imperfect. We do what we can to explain what we think is necessary. I know it's contentious. I know it's difficult, and I know that sometimes the messages are confusing. We do our absolute best to make it as clear as possible, and we do everything that we can to protect public health. That's what
Boris Johnson is going to announce a press conference at 5:30 tonight. The distraction tactic is now a predictable one. We've seen it for the last 2 years. And this guy lacks integrity. He lies to us constantly. The mistruths that come out of Number 10 are just constant. And not only that, he's the worst kind of leader. Someone who then expects his team to go under with him and come out and lie for him. And his ministers and his MPs are constantly forced to do that. And enough is enough. It's not even about a party or a social gathering on December 18th next year, or a secret Santa and cheese and wine. It's about actually having a guy at the top of our country who believes he can just take us all for a ride and laugh at us. And he does it time after time after time. This cannot be let go. Now is the time to get this guy out of Number 10 and start bringing some standards back into politics in this country.